Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the ISB podcast. This episode has been a long time coming. It has been about not even a week after the European Championships, but we finally wanted to bring you our European recap episode. I'm your host, Sahil, here with Rahi and here with Bick, the boys who've all been covering the Euros. Guys, we had to do it. We let it marinate for a little bit, but now is the time.
We had to give Bick some time for his tears to dry up, a few days of crying, and now I think he's got all out of him. Would you say, Bick?
I've got good experience from the last Euros, so I think I was much better mentally prepared for this.
For the loss of it coming home, as Bick, that proud Brit, has to say. So the way we're going to do this show is we're going to go a little bit category by category and give the best thoughts. So I will start off with the first category, which is the best team of the Euros.
It's a difficult one. It's a tough one.
And I answer this for you because there's only one answer to this question. So this is not even a debate. It's not even a question. If anyone has a different opinion in the comments, please write it in the comments because we will have a strong answer for you because Spain was the best team by far in Euros, right, boys?
By far. And it's hard to remember a tournament where you had one team so dominant. I mean, so much better than everyone else. It's been a while since we've seen that, maybe since Spain in 2010, but they lost the game in that tournament to Switzerland, the first game. So it's been a while since I've seen a team so thoroughly dominate the field. You can say Argentina in Copa America, but that's a different tournament. It's a smaller tournament. The other operative word is team. This is really a team. They were a team. And while other teams had more stars, right? You have to say the French team is star-studded. The English team is star-studded. This was truly a team. They certainly were a favorite coming in, but they played so together. And the way they played in this tournament was really beautiful to watch. And it was so refreshing in a summer where really there were no teams playing this way. It was so cagey. It was so tactical in North America, in Europe. And this was the one team that gave us hope that there's a future that is not cagey, that is not tactical, that is all out attack, that's fun, that's romantic. I loved watching Spain, Vic. I really did.
I hate to say it, but yeah, they were by far the best team. You mentioned Spain 2010. I would say Spain 2012 was very dominant as well. They beat Italy 4-1 in the final. Yeah, but again, like no, even as an England fan, there's no complaints. They were by far the best team in the tournament. They combined everything, right? They had the passing, they had the wingers, they had the pace, they had the attack, they had the defensive organization to a large extent, a complete team, miles above everyone else, and deserved winners.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love they didn't win a game in penalties, right? I love that they won this tournament outright, which is lovely to see, I think, because oftentimes there's that one penalty victory that always feels, okay, they got through, but this was nice to see, right? All regulation or extra time, which is a very, like a pure tournament victory, right?
Yeah. Yes and no. I actually think every team that wins should win one match on penalties because it tests a different it's a different part of you. And look, as an England fan, where we win 2 out of 3 penalties in tournaments, I think there's a certain skill to penalties. But yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, they dominated everyone. They didn't need penalties, right? They got it done in regulation time. So well done to them.
I just want to talk about some of the players. Obviously, Fabian Ruiz, probably the player of the tournament, in my opinion. Lamine Yamal, the fantastic player itself, Nico Williams. The one thing I want to mention about the final, which we didn't talk about in depth yet, because, because of Bick, we kind of focused on England, but we really should have talked about a specific moment in Rodri, who is probably in contention for Ballon d'Or. He left the match. And a Real Sociedad player by the name of Martin Zubimendi came in and played a fantastic match. And that was just epitomized, in my opinion, the Spanish team, because it's truly a team. I believe every single player, excluding the third string goalkeeper, had minutes in the tournament. So that's a wild thing to think about. And they all had a big contribution. Like a guy like Zubimendi played a fantastic second half of the match, and Oyarzabal gets the game-winning goal. So it's just such a fascinating unit that was together.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, he really played well. And the other guy is Dani Olmo, right, who wasn't a starter and comes in for the injured Pedri. So there you have another man stepping up into a big role, and he He ended up being almost the player of the tournament in his own right. So it's incredible the depth that this team has, and this not only the depth but the system, right? The understanding of how to play. That I can step right in. I'm young. I haven't been on the stage, but Zubimendi comes in and fills in for Rodri in an incredible way. And I think this team has really learned from the Nations League victory, honestly. And we can doubt the Nations League, minimize it as much as we want. But them winning that tournament, I think, gave them the DNA that they know how to win, and that helped them in this tournament. I really do believe.
Yeah, Rahi's called this team. We created a monster in Spain. Vic, it's a monster team now.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. There's a couple of things I wanted to point out. Firstly, that when Rodri came off, the English commentators got really excited because he was the one supplying the wings. And I think Rio Ferdinand, who I don't necessarily rate as the best commentator, but he was talking about, okay, this is it. This is a big moment. And literally within 2 minutes, they scored. The other thing I wanted to point out is, yes, the Nations League win 100% helped them. I treat the Nations League as a League Cup in England, for example, where, okay, maybe it's not the most interesting competition in the world. Maybe it's not what you're there to play international football for, but you get that taste of victory and you learn how to win, and that helps you in other tournaments. They also won, Spanish teams have won every single final for the last 23 finals in European competitions, 10 of them against English teams. And this, the last time that didn't happen was when Liverpool beat Alaves in 2001.
Yeah.
So we have a long track record of Spain's success, not just Real Madrid, also Barcelona, also Sevilla, also Atletico Madrid. I'm sure that has an impact on this. Finally, Rahi said about the tactical side. So I looked it up the other day because I remember when England lost in 2010, people over here were talking about how bad like the coaching and all the tactical side of England is. And it's true. If you look at the number of UEFA A, B, and Pro licenses, if you look at it by country, I think just for A licenses, Spain has 12,000 registered A license coaches. England has 1,000. Germany has 1,200. It's literally Spain is here and every other country is here. And, it's just like, so there is a tactical side to it that is built in the system. And I think that goes through the players from a very young age, from maybe 12, 13 onwards. You just have so many coaches. And that's why you see Spanish coaches do so well all over the world.
Yeah. So it's a good point.
It's built in their system.
By the way, you mentioned a match. I just want to say this is a little off topic. Deportivo Alaves versus Liverpool is one of my favorite matches of all time. By the way,
incredible.
It was any fans out there who haven't seen it. It was a 5-4 match, and it was one of the most incredible football matches ever. So you should watch highlights of that match.
Yeah. Incredible. Cosmin Contra and Sammy Hippie, I think, got the winner.
Yes, Sammy
exactly.
Hippie.
Gerrard scored in that as well. It was the culmination of Liverpool's great 2000-2001 season. 3 trophies that year. So.
Yeah, no, a fantastic Spanish team, and they're definitely the cream of the crop in Europe. So now shifting gears, moving forward, and we can talk about the team of the tournament, which of course is España. And now let's see for you guys, who was the flop of the tournament in terms of the team?
I wish Ashana were on here because she loves to talk about this team and the way they flop. They could be the flop of every tournament for the past 15 years, but I think it's got to be Belgium, because they are still an incredibly talented team. You can't look at that roster and say they're not talented. They're older, yes, but they're incredibly talented. Losing in the group stage, then getting out of the group stage, and putting in one of the most sort of weak performances against France, where a team as talented as Belgium decided to concede the game entirely to France. A very meek exit to the tournament. And it's a meek exit to a golden generation of Belgian players. And I think it's a culmination. They're the flops. They've been flops for many tournaments. They had a couple decent ones, but this was a big flop. I have to say, a talented team that really didn't play anything.
Okay. Vic.
I will go with Italy. So this is a team that seems to either win tournaments or completely flop. So since they've won the 2006 World Cup, they didn't make it out of the group stages in 2010 and 2014. They didn't qualify for 2018 and 2022. They won the last Euros. They made it by the skin of their teeth in the group stages this time, and then they got demolished by Switzerland. There are real problems in Italy. Somehow they still managed to win tournaments. They've won more tournaments in the last 18 years than England have ever won. So, fair play to them. But this is not a country that is consistently performing in football the way people would expect them to.
Yeah, I agree. I was my team was going to be Italy. I thought it was very interesting. You get by very lucky against Croatia, get the last
Yeah.
goal. That should spur you on and should give you an opportunity because you're given a second chance in this tournament. And they put a complete dismal performance against Switzerland. I think they must have thought Switzerland was Macedonia because that's the team that seems to always give them.
What a weird Italian history. Right? Missed 2 World Cups and out in the Euros, and in between that, they won a European Championship. It's such a weird recent history.
It's
I mean,
quite
they've
bizarre.
won more than most teams. They've won more than France since 2002. They've won more than Germany. Somehow they managed to do it, and in between they've gotten nothing.
Yeah.
So I mean, fair play to them.
It's classic.
But, I thought,
classic
very bipolar team.
Yeah. So what about, okay, now on the other end of the spectrum, who was your best surprise team of Euro?
Yeah, for me, it's a team that I didn't rate going in, and it's a team that dismantled Italy in that round of 16 game, and that's Switzerland. I thought Switzerland was incredibly impressive. I thought they were well drilled. They knew exactly what to do. To outpossess Italy in that game, it was incredible the way the way they were set up by the way, the most stylish coach in the tournament, I think Switzerland had as well. So I think they were set up. They closed down all the space against Italy, and this Italians couldn't get out of their own half in that game. I thought it was an incredible performance. Indoria, I think, had a great tournament. Brillambolo was also good. I think it was a really, really fun Switzerland team to watch, team that attacked, that possessed the ball. And let's be honest, I mean, they got out in the quarterfinals to an England team that went to the final, and they were very close to winning that game. They also, had some chances. Shaqiri had a corner that hits off the post, and then they lose in penalties. I loved watching Switzerland this tournament. I didn't think I would. I've never enjoyed watching Switzerland as much as I did this tournament. They were my surprise.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought Switzerland was great. And, they were about as good as England in that match. They could have made it to the semis. I think, penalty kicks are a bit of a lottery. I think that's a good shout. For me, it was Austria. I really enjoyed watching them. The game against Netherlands was one of the best in the tournament. Sabitzer had a fantastic tournament. And again, in the quarters, they came up against a Turkish goalkeeper who was just having the game of his life. Any other day, they could have made it to the quarters. And I think that would have been a great story as well.
Awesome. I'm going to go with the fan favorite, or the lovely story that came out of the European Championships, was, of course, was Georgia. I thought Georgia beating, regardless of the fact that it was not Portugal's strongest unit, winning a match 2-0 against Portugal is a huge deal. And to get to the next round, scored first against the eventual European Championships as well. So Georgia and Kvaratskhelia, good job.
Yeah.
Can we say the most entertaining and the most liked team of the tournament? I love Georgia. I mean, absolutely fantastic end-to-end stuff from start to finish. And I mean, something else that I think we fans, people are in this day and age of football where you talk about tactics and you talk about the best players. I think we forget about the national story and how much it means to people. Yep. And it was their first big tournament, and it just meant so much to the fans. And it clearly meant so much to the players. And I thought they just gave an amazing account of themselves. So well done to them.
Yeah. All right.
Honorable mentions: Turkey, Romania, Slovakia, all great performances.
Slovenia also.
Slovenia.
Yeah. So there was some, I think, good surprises in there. And hopefully these teams will now be able to build on it moving forward into the Nations League. Okay. So now we're going to shift to players, and we're going to start with the bad and then go to the good. We'll do it that way. So we'll start with the flops. Who were their flops, Rahi?
It's funny because I think initially we had talked about stars of the tournament, and this was a tournament where the stars mostly flopped, right? It wasn't a tournament of stars. It was a tournament about youth and a tournament about team. I think it was teamwork and young players coming up. So a lot of the stars didn't do well. I think you have to look at flops. You have to look at Kylian Mbappe first. He really did flop. I mean, a player as good as he is, to do so little in this turn was I think, shocking, to be honest. And the other guy, I'm going to do two, because while I was in Germany, all I heard from the British fans was Phil Foden's on fire. Let me tell you, if that was fire, you couldn't cook anything on that fire, man. That was slow cooking. You'd have to, put your meat on for multiple hours for it to cook on Phil Foden's fire. So another flop was Phil Foden.
Okay.
They
Vic,
call
who
him
you got?
007. They call him 007. 0 goals, 0 assists, 7 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Phil Foden, and actually, I would say, I mean, like obviously with England, like a lot of the moments made sure that the players didn't overall flop. You can't look further than Ronaldo for me. I think he held the Portuguese team behind so much, and I hope he doesn't play for them in the next tournament because they look so much better without him. I mean, he's scored one free kick in international football, and he just dominated that and just blasted that over the bar. He was petulant, and when their player missed a penalty, he went off in a different direction. He didn't console the player. Every other Portuguese player did, even the opposition team did, and I think he's just led them down a garden path, and he's done amazing things for Portugal ever since he started in 2004. I think his time is done, and I think he gave a really bad account of himself this time.
Okay, so that's who you're going with.
Yeah, Ronaldo.
Yeah. Okay. There's Rahi. I think you made a lot of good points. I think there were a lot of players that didn't really show up. I want to bring out one, and I want to talk about Robert Lewandowski. And the reason being is I've seen a trend, and of course Poland didn't have enough in this match, and obviously he was injured and stuff. But for a player of his caliber, throughout, I'm using this sort of as the duration. This was in my opinion, maybe he'll play in the 2026 World Cup, but I'm still waiting for this player to show up in a major tournament, and I didn't see him. And then I also want to obviously point out I thought Harry Kane actually had a little bit of an underwhelming tournament as well, despite a few moments here and there. So he did get the goal against Slovakia though, so I'll take him off the hook. so yeah. All right, now let's switch to the good. Well, how about the best players of Euro?
I will go with there's a player who Man City might sign, Mr. Owen Goals. Had a tournament of his life, scoring 10 goals. Didn't reach the heights of Euro 2020, where he scored 11. But I thought own goals was a big feature of this tournament.
Okay.
I didn't even know. I was like, where's he going with this? Okay. Yes. I mean, you could name the whole Spanish squad, right? Yeah. You could do that. I mean, we can't end this segment without talking about Lamine Yamal. I mean, the guy was incredible. And then I think with him, you have to talk about Nico Williams, his best friend, his, wing partner. I think those two have to be the players of the tournament. I think just incredible to watch. Incredible performances, game in and game out. Just a fantastic tournament. There is one player I want to mention who I don't know why he hasn't gone to a bigger club. That's the Slovakian forward, David Strelic. I thought he was fantastic against England. I don't know. Someone needs to give him a call. Why his agent needs to be fielding some phone calls. The guy's very good. I was very impressed. Sort of an unknown that is. Can I do one more?
Yeah,
Arda Güler as well. I think Arda Güler was fantastic.
I was going to go with that on a more serious note, but yeah, I think Arda Güler is like brilliant. I will say if you're basing someone's performance against England, that's not really much to go by. I know England made it to the final, but that's not really enough of a bar to cross to say, oh, this guy's had a great tournament.
Yeah, I had three also. I had Arda Güler, I had Dani Olmo, and I had Fabian Ruiz. So I think these were all fantastic players. So yeah, that is the best players tournament. Okay, moving on to the best match now. For you all, which was your favorite match? Bick, let's start with you.
Turkey, Georgia. I mean, that was end-to-end football. Again, in the age of tactics, in the age of understanding what a player's red zone is, and all of these metrics that people use. This was end-to-end international football. This is what it's all about at the end of the day. I thought it was a fantastic game. I really enjoyed every single moment of it. All of the goals were fantastic. And yeah, I mean, Turkey scored the last goal because Georgia's goalkeeper was up in the Turkish end. Yeah. You can't ask for anything more from a group stage game.
I'm going to go with a game that the one team I thought who actually gave Spain a fight and actually played them almost neck and neck, and that was Spain and Germany. I thought the Germans really gave a good account of themselves in that game. And look, if it was a different draw, I think we're talking about a Germany-Spain final. I think Germany was that good in the tournament. And there's a blatant handball in that game that doesn't get called. And it was an even game. It really was. And the Germans were one of the few teams I thought to take the Spanish punch and then punch back. I love that game. I thought it was a great game also with the home crowd. I wish that more teams could have played Spain that way.
Yeah. I would agree. I thought Germany was the second best team at Euro. Would you guys agree? I thought that even though they didn't make it, obviously the final, given the way the draw was, I thought they were the second best team.
It's the luck of the draw, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I were to do like a power rankings, maybe we should do that in a separate episode of power rankings. But I would put Germany as the second best team, in Europe right now. I mean, I think
in this tournament,
based on this tournament, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So if they continue the momentum, it's interesting. So there was a lot of parity in Euro. A lot of the matches were decided by one goal. I'm gonna go with the one match where I thought it was the best individual performance by a team. And it would have been the Spain-Croatia match had Croatia not got a penalty in that match. But I thought this team edged Spain on an individual match, and it was Romania against Ukraine. The 3-0 victory, I thought that was the best performance within a specific match by a specific team in that particular match. And so that's the match I'm going with. And it was quite a re-emergence of Romanian football. Hopefully they're able to continue that.
Which you love to see. I mean, the one thing I like about international football is also all the colors. You've obviously got the Netherlands. Romania is very distinctive in their yellow, and just seeing when you see an entire stand or an entire stadium decked out in the yellow, I think there's just something about it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true, and that's a nice segue to our final segment of the day, which is best fans of Euro. Bick and Rahi both attended European matches in Germany. They were at the Euros, so this is something that you guys, I'm sure, want to talk about. So what you guys got for me?
I think there's two serious contenders here, and they actually played each other. Oh, what it would have been to be in that game would have been incredible to attend that game. Both shades of red, orange. I think it's got to be in a close second. It's the Netherlands. The Dutch fans always bring it. They always bring the energy and the fun and the excitement, and they're always drunk. I think they're number two, but number one, it's got to be Turkey. I mean, the outpouring of emotion, the energy in the stadium. I mean, you could feel the stadium almost shake, even though you're watching the game on TV. To play in that must have been so amazing for the players and so daunting for the opponents. I think it's got to be the Turkish fans who set the tournament on fire, maybe in more ways than they should have. But anyways, that's a story for another day.
I thought you would go with Scotland, so I decided to go with the Netherlands. But I think the fan favorite from a German perspective were the Scottish fans. And it's a shame that their team hasn't lived up to the expectations of the fans. But, they were good. They were well behaved. They were mostly drunk. They got their kills out. I mean, it was fantastic behavior by the fans. And I think they were very much appreciated and loved by the hosts. So I'll say the Scots.
Okay. That sounds good. And we will end with that note. So for those of you out there who enjoyed our Euro coverage, we will be continuing to cover European football, and these teams that you saw during the tournament. We'll continue to see which teams progress, who's going to be the favorites for the Nations League, which is coming up, the next big competition for these teams, as well as the qualification for the next World Cup. If you've been enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel. Any final notes on Euro before we close the chapter on the European Championships, boys?
It didn't come home, but it still may.
The whole point about football coming home is it will come home at some point, and we never said when it will. The next Euros, the next finals will be in Wembley. It'll be co-hosted by all of the countries in the British Isles, so it may finally come home. Let's see.
It's coming home. It's coming home.
Football's coming home.